Welcome to Remote Teaching Diaries presented by Quizlet. Today's conversation is the first in Quizlet's new teacher-centered video series. Through these conversations, you will hear various teachers share their experiences with remote learning during these unprecedented times in our country and the field of education. My name is Susie Gomez, and I am your host and moderator today. I am a middle school English teacher, entering my 10th year of teaching in Southern California. I am a Google Certified Educator and currently part of the California Federation of Teachers Committee for English Language Learners. With me today, I have three amazing educators. We have Carly Laines, a high school moderate to severe special education teacher in Southern California. The program she works with focuses on functionals, academics, and independent living skills. Hi, Carly.
Hi. I am Carly, and this is my 5th year teaching. I started out teaching in an autism-focused classroom, and now I am in a non-categorical special day class. My students have moderate to severe disabilities, and many are English language learners as well. The main focus of our program is independence, and I love getting to see my students shine once they learn those foundational skills.
Welcome. Next, we have Kayla Phillips, a 7th grade language arts teacher in an inclusion classroom in Georgia. She's taught high school English in the past and has also spent a year overseas teaching in China.
Hello, my name is Kayla, and I am currently a 7th grade language arts teacher, and this is my 7th year teaching. And like Susie said, I am in an inclusion classroom. I teach at a Title I school, and the demographics of our students is very diverse. And right now I have students with special needs in my class, as well as general ed students in my classroom. And I have a co-teacher who is with me all day.
Perfect. And last but not least, we have Natalie Priester, who teaches middle school English learners. She is a Google Certified Innovator and the co-founder of Teacher Mama Collective. Hi, Natalie.
Hi, I'm Natalie. This is my 18th year of teaching. I began teaching in a rural border town. I primarily taught Native American students, and then I taught at a residential high school for foster youth for 10 years. I taught English 9, 10, and a bunch of electives while I was there. Now I teach English language learners in a middle school in Riverside County. We're in the city of Paris. Our middle school is actually the lowest socioeconomic middle school in the area. Our community is an interesting mix of rural areas and more suburb areas, even some new build housing. And my students are primarily Latinx. Most are English language learners, or at least bilingual students, meaning the whole school population is mostly Latinx. And my classes are academic English, which is for English language learners. I teach on a 2-year loop, so I have my kids for 7th and 8th grade. I am currently on a 7th grade this year.
Welcome, Natalie. Very similar to Natalie, I also teach in a predominantly Latinx community, and over 90% of our students are Latinx students, all second language learners as well. And I think we have a lot of things in common there. All right, so let's jump into, I think what everyone wants to know is, what model are we all in? So what model is being implemented at your school? Hybrid, online? What does your schedule basically look like now that we are, everything has changed all over the country? So we'll start with Carly. So Carly, can you go ahead and tell us, what does the model at your school look like?
So my district is currently on a fully online model. My students are participating in synchronous learning on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. They transition from class to class. They have 6 periods a day. We start at 8:30, they end at 2:30. And then on the Tuesdays and Thursdays, our school has those designated for asynchronous days. However, as a SPED department, we use those days more so for progress monitoring. We have the opportunity to pull small groups or individual students to work on specific IEP goals. We are closing in on week 5, and I think my students have finally gotten the hang of the schedule. Although I tell my students all the time, the most important life skill you can have is to be flexible. So I'm going to try to practice what I teach and be ready to embrace the changes that I'm sure are coming in the next few weeks.
What about you, Kayla? I think that you have the most interesting model to share.
So our school is currently doing the hybrid model, and our surrounding schools in the county are implementing the same system as well. There are technically two groups of students. There's groups of students who chose to do online schooling, and there are virtual teachers who are solely doing digital learning. And then there are teachers that I am in that group where I'm doing hybrid. I'm doing a hybrid model where I see students 2 days a week, and I see two different groups of students. So for example, I'll see group 1 Monday and Tuesday, and then they'll do digital learning lessons for that rest of the week. And then I will see another group Thursday and Friday, and they've already completed digital lessons. And even though they are working digitally, they are totally separate from our online academy. So technically we kind of have a mix of two groups in our school. And then on Wednesdays, we do not have any students, and that is PD day, that is communicating with parents or meeting with different students for if they need specific help on anything. So I have a hodgepodge of schedules right now.
That sounds like a lot of work right now. And I'm sure a lot of teachers are going to have a lot of questions for you about that model, especially I know in California, some schools are just starting to transition into hybrid or thinking about it. So we're definitely looking at teachers like you for guidance on that. All right, Natalie, what does your schedule look like?
First, I want to say my district is a 1-to-1 Chromebook district, and we have been for as long as I've worked there. It's part of the reason why I moved to this district. So that being said, we are fully online, and our schedule is a little tricky. Our district is mostly high school district, and we're one of the only middle schools there. So here's our schedule. On Monday and Wednesdays, I see my odd class periods for synchronous or live lessons. During their even class periods, they do asynchronous lessons. And then on Tuesday and Thursday, I meet with my even periods, and my odd periods do their asynchronous work. I call it live and non-live, it's just easier. And then on Fridays, I only see my second period, and then we have that time to meet with students, meet with parents, do PLC work, and everything else. But I have a little hack. I teach block schedules, and so I've actually been seeing my students every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, which I think has helped us to make more progress in a short amount of time.
Yeah, that's great that you get to see all your students throughout the week. I have a similar schedule as you, Natalie. So I have my odd periods on Mondays and Thursdays, and then my even periods on Tuesdays and Fridays. And just like Kayla, our professional development days are on Wednesdays, which is oftentimes a nice little break in the middle of the week. But oftentimes that's a lot of meetings and trainings. So screen time is always up there. All right, so we're gonna move on to our next question, which I think that will resonate with a lot of teachers out there, which is the challenges we're facing right now. So what has been the biggest challenge you or your students have faced or encountered so far? And we'll start with Kayla, who is in the hybrid model.
I think the biggest challenge for myself and my students as well is just embracing the new normal. Yes, we are back in the schools, and yes, we're back in the classrooms, but things are obviously different than the beginning of last year. I always usually do, fun icebreakers. This is a time where you get to revisit some of your old students, and it's a fun reunion because you haven't seen people in over the summer. But this year, students don't have the opportunity to socialize in the mornings. They are not able to go to the cafeteria for lunch, and they're not able to go to the gym for afternoon dismissal. So that means that we have small groups of students in our classes all day, except for planning. So I think the biggest challenge is for all of us just to embrace the new normal that we have. And even though, again, we are in the school, it is definitely a bit different, but just learning to take every day, day by day, and embracing that.
Thanks for sharing. I think that's something that we all kind of want to know, what would be the biggest challenge when we go back into the classroom. I think that everyone thinks that everything's just going to go back to normal, but it's not. So that's great to hear, to know that there's things that we need to look forward to when we go back. And Natalie, what has been your biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge for my students and for me to help them work through has been the logistics that hit them because they are English language learners. Our schedule has been challenging, helping kids find their teachers, find their Google Meets, find their Google Classrooms, go to the right class on the live, non-lines time has been very challenging for them. And it's compounded by the fact that in their homes, they don't have an adult most of the time sitting next to them who's totally helping them through everything. Their parents are working, taking care of other kids in the house, and that makes it really, really hard for them to figure out just what to do, in addition to the fact that they're learning English and so are the adults in their home. So I've been using every single translate tool imaginable to try to reach out to them, and I'm trying to give extra support and not be one of those teachers that's like, oh, these parents should do this, because I'm really understanding that my parents are trying their hardest, and when they communicate with me, they are genuinely trying their hardest, and I'm trying to do as much of the teacher work as I can so that that gets off their plate.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think just like you, we have similar demographics. We have a lot of Latinx and like bilingual students in bilingual homes. And I know in my community, multiple student homes. So for us, the biggest challenge has been we've often given our students access to computer labs and internet and support at school through paraeducators and, specially trained teachers like you or myself who have worked with ELD students for a long time, and now that's kind of been taken away from them, and the parents are trying to figure everything out. So I've had a very similar challenge as well. What about you, Carly?
I have a pretty small group because I'm in a special day class. My population and my class size is pretty small. I have 10 students who are just so happy to be at school. They love seeing their teachers, they love seeing their friends. So getting on the computer, once they're there, they are so ready to learn. However, in my classroom, in a typical setting, the students do have myself and 2 to 3 other instructional aides for support with instruction and just transitions and day-to-day things. So once we moved to this distance learning model in the spring, the biggest challenge that we saw was the level of assistance that the students needed in order to interact and participate in the lessons. So fast forward to fall, that is the one area that I really wanted to address. How can I relieve some of that support that the parents or the siblings are providing and make my classroom now all online more accessible for my students? And I have really dedicated the first 2 weeks to be really, really specific to teaching the tools and how to navigate, even if it's masked by a fun activity. We might be doing a scavenger hunt on our class website, and whoever finds the pink button first wins, or we're playing Simon Says and they have to mute and unmute. But I found that being really intentional and strategic and dedicating the time early on, I'm hoping will help my students build that confidence and make for a smoother transition as we start teaching content or as we enter a new phase or a new change in our school system.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that just training them to use the tools that you constantly will use throughout your sessions definitely is going to be super helpful. And I think in a previous conversation we had, we talked about how, more tech is not always the best solution to trying to help our students navigate this. If anything, it becomes a lot more confusing. So I think those are some great ideas to get them feel comfortable with tech as well. Okay, so those are our biggest challenges, and I'm sure we've encountered a lot more challenges as well throughout the way, not only with our students, but with ourselves as well. But I think that most teachers want to know what can they do to make things better. So if you were to give viewers or teachers one tip to help them navigate this school year, what would that tip be? And we'll start with Natalie.
Okay, so I've had some thoughts about this. I have a lot of experience using tech. I've experienced working at a residential school. So like going into kids' homes, I'm cool with tech too. And putting all of that into my advice, here's my biggest advice to you. Keep it simple. Like make things as easy as possible. In my normal class, I teach blocks. So like we'll do like 7 activities a day. Like Kyla was saying we'll do an icebreaker, we'll do some reading, we'll do some journals, we do all these different movement and just transitions. But right now I'm doing it very simple. This is our objective this class period. You're going to learn this by the end. You're going to turn this in, and we are doing one thing at a time. I'm just numbering my assignments, one per period, and we are keeping it very, very simple. San Diego County south of me has begun prepping to go back to a hybrid, and I see my teacher friends stressing about how they're going to transition their curriculum. So my plan is that even if we go back, I'm going to keep this very simple format this school year and save all my bells and whistles for another time when it's not going to stress the kids out.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that just by following Natalie on Instagram, I've just learned that just really works. And just staying organized for me personally has been a really big game changer. Just organizing my tabs and labeling all the things for my students. Even just making like a bank of like stock comments to give to them and organizing that, because they ask the same question like 1,000 times sometimes, and I'm just like copy paste because you just have to get yourself organized, especially right now. It's easier for them to find things, and it's easier for us as teachers, especially if you teach more than one class. I know that there's teachers on my campus that teach more than one subject, and I teach more than one subject, so it's different when you're trying to change your mindset from from 7th grade English to 8th grade English. So organization would be my biggest tip for teachers. What about you, Carly? What's your big tip?
I would say to celebrate the small successes. This is a motto that drives my classroom all year, but I have found that it is more important than ever before. At the end of each day, I tell myself 3 things. I showed up, my students showed up, and my students are happy. And if that's all I can take from the day, that's enough to remind me of my why. And as we've all experienced, things are always going to go wrong. The link's not going to work. The Jamboard I've prepped all night all of a sudden disappeared. So I think it's important to realize that that's a teachable moment. This is such a unique time that, especially for our students, they are having to learn really important life skills. They have to be flexible. They need to be patient. They have to be okay with plan B. They're learning to be independent. And I think as educators, if we could recognize that and find value in that, we will be able to give ourselves a little bit more grace with the mistakes that are inevitably going to come. So I would challenge everybody to find a moment each day that validates the important work that you are doing for your students. Because even though it looks really different, those moments are still happening. And I truly believe you are creating those moments just by showing up for your students.
Well said. It's very inspiring. I think that we definitely agree. I mean, our kids just still make us smile even if it's behind a screen. All right. Kayla, your turn.
I have 2 quick ones. The first one, just like what Carly was saying, don't stress out about the things that you don't have control over. Kids will not do their work, but sometimes you don't know the reason behind that. Just don't stress out if you don't need to. And then a practical tip is something that our team has decided to do is, since we have almost like 25 to 30 separate rosters, because we have technically 5 classes a day plus 2 groups of students, and you add that all together, it's about 25 to 30 rosters. One thing that we do is we just organize all our rosters on one piece of paper and then organize them in order by classes, so we can kind of have a visual as to how many kids are in each class, what their names are, and just be able to recognize and identify their names faster, as opposed to flipping through or looking up, 30 individual rosters.
I think that definitely helps you with just being efficient, just the rostering. And sometimes I feel like rosters are like by last name or first name, so you have to like figure it all out. All right, so I think that's basically the end of our panel in terms of sharing our challenges and some of the things that kind of our aha moments that we can share with other people. I know that there are teachers out there that probably are in very similar situations to all of us. So where can they find you? Where can they reach out to you? For myself, I am available through Instagram and Twitter, and my handle is @EngageTheMiddle. Where can they find you, Carly?
On Instagram @Teach2Shine. The 2 is the number 2, so Teach2Shine. And I really look forward to connecting and sharing our experiences during this time.
And Kayla, where can they find you?
On Instagram, I am @TheLitTeacher_, and you can find me on TikTok @TheLittleTeacher.
And finally, Natalie, where can they find you?
I am the most active on Instagram. I post teacher mama stuff on there everywhere because I think the balance is important, and I don't want to just be a teacher, and I like to share a lot of gardening too. So that's my name, Natalie.Priester. And I also have a YouTube channel that is my name, and I have some classroom vlogs from when I was in my classroom. And that one, the easiest way to find me is just to search for Teacher Mom. You can also search my name, but Teacher Mom is much easier to spell.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for all your time. I wish you the best this school year. I know you guys are going to rock it because you guys are amazing teacher mamas and teachers. This is the end of our first video for Remote Teaching Diaries presented by Quizlet. Thank you so much for your time. Bye.